The Housing Justice Town Hall brought forth U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other elected officials talking housing, rent reform, and more. BronxNet correspondent Stephen Powell brings us the story.
The Sands, located on Allerton Avenue in the northeast section of the Bronx, was the scene of the Housing Justice Town Hall featuring Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, New York Senators Jamal T. Bailey and Alessandra Biaggi, and Assemblywoman Nathalia Fernandez. The event was a community-organized effort hosted by Housing Justice for All, a coalition of tenant associations and other housing advocates to address the housing crisis facing New York State tenants.
We're here to demand universal rent control in New York State that is not pie in the sky, that is basic protections for people who pay rent, who work hard, and they deserve a home to live in without fear of their rent going up $500, $700 per month.
The term universal rent control describes the goals shared by Raphael Schweizer, head of Bronx Park East Community Association, and other Housing Justice for All borough members seeking to protect tenants living in 2, 3, 4, or 5 unit apartments from experiencing rent hikes and evictions by landlords. Schweizer described the rent control legislation that must be passed in order to secure this right for all New York State tenants.
There are 9 universal rent control bills. We need, not one, we need all 9 bills passed because tenants, these are people's homes.
Community Action for Safe Apartments, otherwise known as CASA, organizes tenants for safe and affordable housing through collective action. CASA leader Anita Long co-signed Schweizer's sentiments on housing legislation.
Housing is a human right, and this 9-bill package will ensure that all tenants in the state of New York are protected.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez enlightened Bronxites about the methods used to determine what is considered affordable housing and offered a possible solution to this problem, while Senators Jamal T. Bailey and Alessandra Biaggi emphasized the importance of doing their jobs as legislators in service of the people of New York.
The average median income, that geographic area goes all the way up to Westchester for New York City. So the median, the AMI zone is so big that Westchester mansions are being included in what is determined as affordable housing. So we're going to lower the AMI, but we need to make sure that it's very tightly coordinated so that people don't get left out on the street because of kind of the loopholes and the cracks that happen in our system.
As legislators, I believe it is our duty to go through things and see what cause and effect would be, intended and unintended consequences of what any legislation would be. I think that's our job, and I think that we're doing that job in the Senate right now.
They need to make sure that the tenants and the people in their districts actually are protected. And so we are inch by inch working towards that.
With 16 days left before rent stabilization laws in New York State expire, Bronx residents hold on to the hope that their message that housing is a human right resonates with their congressional representatives. Reporting for BronxNet, Stephen Powell.
Thank you, Stephen. Switching gears here, Legal Hand Highbridge educated Bronxites on asylum seekers, civil unrest, and how to get involved at the Imprisoning in Plain Sight workshop. BronxNet correspondent Kibben Aline brings us the story.
Learning about the repercussions of civil unrest and the life of a refugee, Bronxites attended the Imprisoning in Plain Sight workshop at Legal Hand Highbridge.
Tonight was Our Displaced Neighbor, an event geared towards asylum seekers and giving out information on, what are asylum seekers and how you get some information on assisting them in various different capacities.
With 62% of New Yorkers living in households with at least one immigrant, according to NYC Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, United Nations Women Gambia Ambassador Dr. Amina Ali led the discussion with the theme of Our Displaced Neighbor, hoping to show Bronxites they are much closer than they think.
We have people of other ethnicities that all live next door to each other, and we're all facing the same problems. So because of that, we have to make that civil unrest settled, and that is getting and making sure that there are resources and opportunities for all of the communities to be able to thrive and survive.
The workshop highlighted the traumatic hardships these vulnerable communities face, but also offered offers solutions to Bronxites, willing to give a helping hand with an opportunity to volunteer with the United Nations.
We have to step up and be the pillars of strength to bring those programs here. You can go to register to be a UN ambassador in your own community, and that's just simply getting a UN volunteer ID number that allows you to see the things that are going on in your community and elsewhere and where you can be of help. And then you can unify right where you are.
If peace and security, sustainable development, human rights, and humanitarian assistance are core values to you and you're interested in volunteer opportunities, then you can visit unv.org to learn more about volunteering with the United Nations. Reporting for BronxNet, Kib and Aline.
Thank you, Kibben. That's all for Bronx Updates. We have to take a quick break. More open right after this.